This is Talk is Sheep, the official podcast of the Wild Sheep Society of BC, brought to you by Sitka Game. Come along as we bring conversations that matter to you into the high alpine. My friendly co-host, Mr. Jesse Bone. How's it going, brother?
Hi, Kyle. It's going well. After a few technical issues, we figured it out, but we got here. We got across the finish line. But going well. The sun was out yesterday, a little rainy today, but spring is officially sprung. It's time to get ready, and that's what we talked about today.
For a very serious mountain hunt. What kind of mountain hunting are you doing this fall, Mr. Bone?
I am doing my first ever sheep hunt. I was lucky enough to draw a Northern BC tag, and so me and a hunt buddy are going up for opener. Very excited. Yeah, man, I've never been on a sheep hunt. Being a director at the society, it's kind of a surprise to a lot of people. But I came to the sheep world through the biology and science and making films about sheep and issues and disease. But yeah, I'm super excited to go up in Northern BC. I grew up in Terrace, born in Prince Rupert. I'm from the north, but I've never been that far north. I've been to Stewart and that's it, but nothing further north. So I'm excited to go up there.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Well, we've seen the different platforms where they make fun of us directors. It's like learning how to sheep hunt from people that have never sheep hunted, right, on the board of directors. But obviously that's not the main criteria. It's about what we're doing for conservation and wild sheep. But we also are hunters on our as an organization. So yeah, you're gonna go out, you're gonna get kicked out, and you're gonna harvest a 12-year-old fanon, I think. And yeah, it's gonna be awesome, man.
I'm excited because that, according to the new thin horn management plan that we were reviewing, that's kind of we're going. I'm hunting right in the fanon zone, which I don't know. I'm gonna have some more conversations with Bill about the fanon sheep and what the genetics are on them. Are there genetics? Is it just visual based on coat? Is it what all that is? But according to kind of the genetic map or blob that he has laid out in the plan that they've drafted, that's kind of the hot spot for fanon. So maybe we have 5 native subspecies in BC, not just 4, Kyle.
Yeah, and actually our next podcast, which is with the Cunningham crew, and you weren't on that one, but we actually discussed that. So
great.
Yeah, it's interesting. But for those of our listeners, though, we talk about genetics and fanons and dulls and stones and, what are true stones, what are true dulls. We did a podcast with Dr. Zijian Sims, we could call him Sim affectionately, and of course, Bill Jex was on that one. It was episode 46. It's called Cause Science with Zijian Sim. So if anyone's interested in sort of genetic work and is addressing exactly what you're talking about, Jesse, is this fanon group and how genetically they're different from stones and dulls and that aspect of it. And it's not just like a black hair with a white animal. It's very sciencey for the science. So.
Good. I need to go back and listen to that one. I missed that one, but yeah, just getting more context and education on those sheep up north is key.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but this is a cool one. We sit down with Dustin from Mountain Tough Fitness, and they've been doing great work for a number of years. And what they do is they build platforms specifically to the mountain hunter. And so, I've used their program before. Number of years ago, and I liked it because it was like catering to what we do, right? And they've got a whole bunch of different programs. They got an app. You buy the app, and he's generously donated to our membership a free trial. Typically, they give a 2-week trial. He's going to give you an extra 4 weeks on top of that. So for 6 weeks, you go out, try it out, see what it's like. Jesse and I, we've signed up for the full package. We're going to do it, and it sounds like details to come, but we're going to be sort of, I guess, quote, training buddies in some aspect that will connect and kind of motivate each other. We're going to be kind of on the same program at the same time. Obviously, you're much more dedicated and better shape and much healthier than me. So this is way harder for me than you. And plus I'm much older too, right? So
much older. Yeah, you're much older. Yeah, I think one of the things we talked about in with Dustin was just accountability, and the platform is all of this information, but it also is a community of people that kind of hold each other accountable. And I'm one of those types that I need to be told what to do, and if somebody else is watching or if I'm held accountable somewhere, I'll get it done. If I'm left to my own devices, then I'll probably let things slip or just kind of be like meh or whatever and move on. So yeah, I'm excited to I'm excited to hold you accountable as well.
Ooh, those are harsh words, my friend. Awesome. So yeah, for those of you that are listening to this and they want to check it out, just head over to Mountain Tough Fitness. Just quick Google, you'll find them, and then there you can download the app, whatever you want to do. And then there's a code. It's in the show notes. It's SHEEPBC. So Dustin's generously set us up with that. So all capitals, SHEEPBC, and you're going to get your 6-week trial. And that's the same stuff that Jesse and we have access that way. And we're picking a couple of programs. Sounds like we're going to work on the 16-week program. Which one is it that we're doing?
The preseason program.
Yeah, Backcountry Hunter.
The one I'm diving into right now, I was just watching it before we recorded, was the Eat Mountain Tough. Just talking about nutrition and all that kind of stuff. And there's also the mental, there's a 10-day mental tough program to do that focuses on mental toughness, which, those are some key pillars that we talk about in the podcast.
Awesome. So with that, we're off to, I think this is officially episode 121 that we're putting out to you guys, and we're talking to Dustin Diefenderfer. I'm probably butchered that. Sorry, Dustin. Dustin from Mountain Tough Fitness. So enjoy, and love to have you guys jump on board and train along with us. Jess and I will be talking about that throughout the podcast over the next 4 months as we lead up to our fall sheep hunts. Enjoy. This episode is sponsored by our conservation partner, Yeti. Thank you, Sitka Gear and Yeti, for investing in healthy wildlife and sustainable ecosystems. Well, good morning, Dustin. Welcome to Talk is Sheep. Awesome to have you on the show, and I understand it's a bright and sunny day in Montana.
Yeah, the sun is out, which is nice. We've had a really long winter here with a deep snowpack, and so everyone's craving some sunshine for sure.
Awesome. And I guess you're coming to us from your podcast studio in, is it in Bozeman there? Where's the office at?
Yeah, we're in Bozeman. We moved into our brand new research and development facility, which is pretty exciting. It was a 2-year project. So 2 years ago, we agreed to build this building, and it was all constructed around research and development for the mountain and military athlete. And we moved in 3 weeks ago, so pretty fresh, brand new construction, and it's right next door to Stone Glacier, so which is pretty cool because we were neighbors for 2 years in our old building and did a lot of projects together, and then they moved into their new one, and now we're next door again, so we're back to being neighbors, and it's a good setup.
Awesome. Well, so on this podcast for our listeners, we got Director Jesse Bone on, Mr. Producer Man, and he's all dialed. And Jesse and I are really stoked. We picked up a Mountain Tough Fitness app from Dustin and the team there, and we're really excited. Jesse and I both have hunts this fall that we've been planning for, and we're going to sort of articulate our story a little bit on the podcast here and talk about our training journey. So, we thought this would be a good chance to jump on with you, Dustin, and have a little chat about, I guess the platform, the app, the ethos of what you guys do. So, if you don't mind, let's start off with that. Let's talk about kind of, and I've been following you guys and using the app on and off over the years for a long time now. But let's talk a little bit about your ethos and the evolution and how you got to where you guys are today with Mountain Tough.
For sure. It's been a really cool journey. It's been pretty wild to watch just the evolution since we started, especially because Mountain Tough started about as bootstrap as you can. So it's been kind of one of those American dream stories for me, for sure. So I was a Montana kid, lifelong Western archery elk hunter, and that was kind of in our family's blood. My dad was a competitive archery guy, and he had 7 brothers, so I had a lot of uncles, and we just ran around in the woods hunting elk. And in September, archery was our big passion, and we spent a lot of time chasing elk through the Rocky Mountain West. And as I got older and into college, I started focusing all of my gym training on preparing for September. And it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. I was kind of a gym rat, and I was spending a lot of time lifting and trying to create programs in the gym that helped me get ready for heavy pack outs in the fall. The interesting thing that happened was I met my wife in college, and she was a marathon runner. And so then I started doing a lot of marathon running with her, combined with my gym training that I was already doing. And what happened was we went kind of deep down the marathon route, and the ultra marathons started popping up. And so we started running 50Ks through the Rocky Mountain West. And a lot of times we were running in the same mountain range that we were going to be hunting in later that fall. But the real light bulb moment for Mountain Tough went off for me when we just got done with a big season of running. So we ran a handful of different marathons and 50Ks. And it was one of my worst falls of all time, which created this light bulb moment that I thought I was gonna feel the best, but I felt the worst, especially when it came to a heavy pack out and heavy packs. And really what happened was I had done way too much cardio and lost a lot of strength. And that led me to this idea of, man, someone should really train for the specific mission that a backcountry hunter faces. And a backcountry hunter had never really been treated as a true athlete at that time. And so this was in 2016 when Mountain Tough was founded, and no one was really breaking down the skill requirements of a backcountry hunter and training to those skill requirements. And that was really interesting to me because that's what all other major sporting organizations or the military would do. So like the NHL or the military is going to look at the job requirements of their athletes and train to those very specific job requirements. But historically, a hunter was dabbling in a little bit of cardio, dabbling in a little bit of weight training, and then sometimes dabbling with a little bit of rucking with packs on. And so that was the opportunity that we went after in 2016 was, hey, what if we treated a backcountry hunter like any other professional athlete and studied that athlete and trained to those skill requirements? And so that's what we set out to do in 2016. And it started as just 3 guys in the park behind my house. So I hung a logo at the bow shop and said I wanted to train backcountry hunters. And it started with a few people in the park. And it's just kind of exploded since then. We have tens of thousands of Mountain Toughers, so backcountry hunters using the app every day. And that's globally, so it's hunters from all over the world that are training for a variety of hunts. But it started just from a really simple idea that we should treat this audience like any other athlete and deliver programming that helps them perform on the mountain.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I've found that personally too, over the years trying to develop something for my training programs, off season, on season, the run up to the fall, and always just struggled. And that's where it totally connected with you guys, right? And, you guys were catering to that. So on that note, then, Dustin, can you talk a little bit about, if we're talking about an ultra marathon, they're very specific. Cardio is obviously a heavy influence. What would you say are the core tenets for a backcountry hunter? What are some of the key focuses when the programs you've built on? And I've seen the programs. What's the core of it and thrust of it, and what are you guys considering in terms of program delivery?
Yeah, so the major pillars are for sure work capacity would be up there on the list, definitely. So that is really connected to muscle endurance. So it's not how strong an athlete is, like how much weight they can lift once. It's how much work capacity do they have to where they can perform day after day, which is really important for a backcountry hunter, because a backcountry hunter, their sport is one of the longer events out there. So, for example, like a marathon runner or a football player, their sport is 1, 2, 3, or 4 hours long, where a backcountry hunter has to typically go into the mountains for 3, 5, or 7 or 10 days. And a backcountry hunter has to be able to be strong and healthy on day 6 after the mountain has beat them up for 6 days. And then a lot of times their biggest challenge as a hunter is going to come at the end of a long trip. So if you harvest a sheep on day 7 of a 10-day hunt, now the real big work begins, and you've already been on the mountain for 7 days. So work capacity is a huge focus of ours, and that's how much the athlete can how much muscle endurance they have where they can perform high volumes of work over and over and over again without their body breaking down or causing an injury. We certainly focus a lot on mental toughness as well, and that was something that was kind of unique to Mountain Tough that hadn't been approached much from the programming perspective historically. But when we started, when we looked at consistently successful hunters, we did a big research project in 2017 and looked at a lot of the hunters that had been successful for decades. And so we wanted to know the guys that were do-it-yourself backcountry archery elk hunters in the Rocky Mountain West, who was kind of the crowd that had been successful for 10 and 20 years. When we analyzed all those athletes, some of them weren't as physically fit as we thought, but they were some of the most mentally tough people in the world. And so mental toughness is kind of baked into everything that we do. Our ethos, our philosophy, all our programming. And a big part of that is because we know that mental toughness is really almost as important as the physical in hunters achieving their goals. So that would be pillar number 2, following work capacity. And then the other pillars are, we do focus a lot on strength, endurance, cardio, stamina, nutrition. And then in the last couple of years, we're focusing a lot more on mobility, just to keep athletes really healthy as they train, but really healthy in the mountains as well.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the mental toughness aspect. So, being a sheep hunter, I remember that first sheep hunt I went on, and it was like, we're halfway to where we needed to go on day 1, and you're just done. You hit that wall, and I hear that quite often about sheep hunters, that you hit the wall, and some push through it and some never do. Some people get in the mountains, and there's that famous Jack O'Connor quote. It's like, you're either a sheep hunter or you're not. You go the first time, and either you're hooked for life or you never go again. And I think that talks to the mental toughness. But what do you guys put into your programming that makes that I guess that focuses on mental toughness? How do you train someone for that when really many people sign up, they think, oh, I'm buying this fitness app, but it's actually mental conditioning as well. Talk about a little bit of your programming, especially somebody that hasn't seen your videos and stuff. How do you encourage that?
Yeah, so mental toughness for us, it can be defined in a lot of different ways, but a lot of the ways that we talk about it at Mountain Tough is we need to teach our athletes to overcome adversity, and we need to teach our athletes to turn ceilings into floors. And turning ceilings into floors is one way we do it through our programming. So in our programming, a good example of just the analogy of turning ceilings into floors is some people may say that running a 10K is something they've never done and is a big challenge. And so that is their ceiling. But we know we can train an athlete up to be able to do a 10K at any time, any day of the week, and just be ready. So that issue that used to be their ceiling is now their floor. And so turning ceilings into floors is a big part of building mental toughness. And then the overcoming adversity is a huge part. And a lot of the most mentally tough people in the world are mentally tough because of mindset, but also because they have a deep breadth of cumulative experiences of doing hard things when they didn't really want to. And so part of making an athlete mentally prepared for a hunt is just getting them to complete the program. So completing, the preseason prep program, they're doing a hard workout every day. They're creating a routine. They're creating that discipline. And so those are kind of just the basics. But the more advanced mental toughness training that's inside of the program is each day won't be the most challenging workout the athlete has ever done, because that creates a lot of overtraining and burnout scenarios. But one day per week is going to be a very, very difficult and challenging workout. And so like in our new preseason prep program, that falls on Tuesdays in the program. And we design those Tuesdays knowing that the athlete is really going to have to dig deep and overcome adversity to finish that day. And there's even layers inside of that day we add to build that resilience and mental toughness. So for example, we might have a workout that has a fake ending. Fake endings are a really good way to test and build someone's mental durability. So you might think that we're going to be done in 40 minutes, but at 40 minutes, there's really a surprise ending where we're going to ask you to go 15 more minutes. Or we might design a workout where there's one in the program called the Mind Splitter, where the reps are going to start really high, and then they're going to go down, and then they're going to go down, and then they're going to go down. So it gets easier each time you go through. But then you're starting to be fatigued, and we're going to curve those reps back up. So you're going to finish where you started. And kind of the last thing you want to do mentally is see those go back up. But we know that's going to make you mentally stronger. So there's a lot of little nuances inside the program throughout each day that are helping athletes become more mentally strong. But we also have added a lot of content over the last 18 months that's just focused on mindset. So in Mountain Tough Plus now, the app, there's an actual 10-day mental toughness course that we're asking all athletes to take. And that course involves no workouts. So there's no physical workouts at all. That's all mindset training. And so it's all practical mindset training. It's led by our colleague Phil Cornerchuk. He came from the Green Beret community. So 21 years of military mental toughness experience. And that one's 10 days in a row just to get people thinking about the mental toughness principles and start thinking about how to apply them into their own lives. So there's stuff that's baked into the physical program, but there's also accessory content just for practical approaches to mental toughness.
Dustin, I think, well, so many things. But I think for me, what I've kind of learned sticking in the silo of mental toughness, um, I'm pretty new to the mental tough game, I guess would be the thing. Grew up playing hockey and sports and, can deal with the burn and fatigue on the body.
Mm-hmm.
But as for like, knowing where that limit is or pushing that limit, I think personally I'm a person that stays on the positive side of things, and I like to persevere through things. But for training for that, like I can't trust myself. I don't know the limits. So that's why I think the app and the programs that you have are so good, because you can almost tell me what to do and tell me, your
Yeah.
limits further. I don't know. I don't know the exact number, but or was it David Goggins that said, when you think you're done, you've only gone through, was it 40%
Yeah.
of your capacity?
Yeah.
So it's just I'm excited to dive into the app. I poked around a bit, but I'm the type of person, like I live in an area that we do a lot of mountain biking. We do a lot of kind of endurance things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've gone through, like I've had a cycling coach and stuff before. And when I'm coached and when I'm told what to do, I can do it. When I'm not coached and I'm not told what to do, it's just all over the place. So that's, I'm excited to dive into the app and just follow the program and just tell me how far to go and, and how far to push it, because I mean, I'm even going through, like, I have two kids, and my son is 13, and trying to teach him mental toughness is really hard.
Yeah.
It's just one of the things that's so hard to train for.
100%. And I think it's really hard to train for mental toughness entirely alone. And so usually you'll see mental toughness shine when it's like one buddy taking care of another buddy or one buddy pushing another. So you'll see that in hunting trips, and you'll see that in military scenarios where someone's really able to persevere and push to a whole new limit because their friends next to them are, or they need to encourage their friends, or their friends are encouraging them. And that's one thing I love so much about the Mountain Tough community is now there's tens of thousands of like-minded individuals in there. And even though it's a virtual community, the one way it's building a lot of mental toughness is if you take one of those Tuesday workouts, for example, that's going to be the mental toughness burner, just seeing that hundreds of other people are doing that workout that day, and B, seeing the other times, because you might look at that workout and be like, man, this looks impossible to do in an hour, but then you'll see like a 55-year-old hunter from Colorado that did it in 48 minutes. So just knowing that community is in there with you and all pushing together is that accountability is a big part of the mental game as well.
Yeah, I think that's a key thing for me personally. When I'm held accountable, there's no excuse. So find a way, and somebody's on the other end watching, or going to see the results. Like I said, I do a lot of mountain biking, and we all use an app that shows all of our up times and our down times, and
Yeah,
we always poke fun at each other, and you know and the same thing. You go through like an hour long climb, and you're like, man, that was a good effort, and you get up and you see that four buddies beat you on your time. You're like, oh, okay, I got to dig in. I got to get deeper. I got to get better. I got to get faster.
for
If
sure.
that's something that you like.
For sure. Yeah. And I think to your second point, the thing that's been really phenomenal over the last couple of years with with Mountain Tough is the COVID pandemic definitely changed a little bit of the culture in the world around training at home. And so pre-COVID, a lot of our programming was focused on gym equipment. And pre-COVID, like our preseason and postseason backcountry hunter program, most people were going into a gym to do that because it required so much equipment, or they were training at home, but that was only for the people that had a robust home gym. And then COVID, like 79% of people moved from a gym to start training at home, and 71% of those people decided to stay at home. And a lot of the reason was they liked it. They bought some equipment. It fit into their schedule a little bit better. But the big thing that really was pretty amazing out of that movement was all of a sudden a lot of kids started seeing their parents training really hard. And so kids becoming more mentally tough, like watching their moms and dads do these Mountain Tough workouts, has been a big trend we've seen in the last 18 months because a lot of folks are waking up, going downstairs to their basement gym, pulling up the Mountain Tough app, and doing their workout every day. And the kids are just exposed to that and watching that. And now you'll see a lot of them, jumping in and wanting to try it. So I think a lot of that mental toughness can be absorbed by just, the family being exposed to it, which is pretty amazing.
Okay, so I'll just I'll tell my son. I said, "Sorry, Dustin said you got to do this with me. That's how we build resilience."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I challenged my girls. I have an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old daughter, and I challenged them to do 20 Mountain Tough workouts in a row from the app, and they did it, which was pretty cool. And they got done, and I was like, "Are you guys going to keep going?" And they're like, "No, I'm gonna take a break." But I think you still see them kind of sneak down into the basement, and they'll do one with my wife every now and then. But I think just being exposed is a big part of that.
Awesome. So, Dustin, we're looking for people that are picking up the app. Maybe some of our listeners that sign up for the app. I'm 130 days out from my hunt. What should I be looking at timing wise when there's obviously you guys got a ton of great programs there. There's like literally dozens. What would you kind of recommend for someone that's planning an August sheep hunt 130 days out? What should they start looking at? What should they start with?
Yeah, so with training, it's always best to start earlier rather than late. And so a huge mistake in training, especially in the hunting community, is starting way too late. And so starting late is usually where you'll see someone have a September elk hunt and they'll panic in mid-July and be like, "Oh crap, I haven't even started training." And they're starting too late, which is better than nothing. But what happens is they usually don't have time for like muscle maturity and cardio adaptations to happen. So scientifically, you want to start as early as possible. And so, the best possible outcome for anyone is they're training off season, in season, and then they're training in the accessory season. So that would be like spring and then continuing to train during season. But for someone right now that's getting ready for an August sheep hunt, definitely the science says 16 weeks of good training is optimal. So a 16-week program to get ready for your hunt is the optimal approach to take if you were going to start a new program. And so that's 4 months of training, and then you want about a week off before your hunt. So you don't want to be training a day before your hunt. So you'd want to finish that program about a week out and taper and get some good rest and recovery in hydration and nutrition, and then you'll go into your hunt at optimal performance. And so our preseason prep program is 16 weeks. It started as 12, and then as we looked at the research and science in more depth, we added 4 more weeks so that it's a 16-week program, because really some of those like cardio adaptations take some more time, like VO2 max and lactate threshold all take quite a bit of time to build up. And so anyone who's going to hunt in September or August of this year, they need to start now. And if you're hunting a little bit further than 16 weeks from now, if your hunt's a little bit further out than that, the best thing to do would be to start a Mountain Tough on-ramp program. And so our on-ramp programs are designed to just get someone started, get someone into the app, walk them through some of the basics and show them some of the movements, add some mobility. And so that's kind of like step one, where we can virtually take someone by the hand and kind of get them into the system on an on-ramp. And then we have a 30-day foundation program as well. So if the hunt's about 5 months out, you'd want to do on-ramp to foundation right into preseason prep.
Awesome. So talk our listeners through a little bit about what they need to do. They have to have a gym membership. What can they do at home? So and then this is the one that I'm going to do. I'm using the preseason prep one. I've got that on my agenda here. So what kind of gear do they need, and how do they need to prepare for that so that they can be successful?
For sure. Yeah, so we have a bunch of different paths in the app now, depending on the hunter's fitness level and depending on the hunter's gym and equipment setup. So the most robust product to get ready for a hunt is the preseason prep backcountry hunter series, and that's part of our full gym program. We did add a lot of programming that takes care of the athlete that has minimal gear, and then we also have programming that takes care of the athlete that has no gear. So someone with no gear that doesn't want to go to a gym or buy a bunch of gym equipment, there is a full pathway in the app of no gear body weight training. And then someone who has like a couple dumbbells, a step-up box, and a kettlebell or two, there's a full suite of minimal gear programming in the app as well. So by no means do you need to have a full gym to do Mountain Tough. About like 51% of our customers now are training on minimal gear. It's become a really popular way to train, especially for a functional athlete, and they're able to incorporate their heavy pack into a lot of that training as well, which is great for a hunter. But the most ideal program is the preseason prep for a big, rugged terrain, high elevation hunt, and that requires just the basic gym equipment. So a lot of people are doing this from home. You don't have to go to a gym. But the basics you'll need for the gym programming are a squat rack, and then a barbell with some plates, and then a bench, and then you'll need a variety of dumbbells and a pull-up bar. And then we ask anyone participating in that suite of programming to have one cardio device. And so if you don't have a cardio device, you end up doing a ton of running in that program, which is fine for some people, but it's nice to switch that up every now and then with either a spinning bike, an assault bike, a skier, or a rower. You don't have to have all those machines, but one of those options is usually what we recommend.
Dustin, I'm curious. So for me personally, I'm not afraid of the work. I like the work. I like doing the workouts. I think the program's great. The thing that I've kind of been obsessed with nutrition over the
Mm-hmm.
past, past few years really, but practically over the past few months. And I started watching one of your programs about nutrition and talked about the three pillars to exercise, nutrition, and recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Recovery to me, like, because you can do all these workouts, and I've kind of been of that in the past, where do lots of activities and lots of things, but struggle with weight and struggle with that because nutrition's kind of just an afterthought. Or go on a big mountain bike ride and bonking halfway through and struggling because I never really thought about my nutrition and fueling for it, and then recovery afterwards. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, like nutrition and recovery. And I've heard you do exercise and you get your protein shake within 30 minutes, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because that's a huge topic that we've learned a ton about. So May 1st of this year, we are launching our brand new preseason prep program. So it'll be called Preseason Prep 2.0 in the app. But we learned a lot around just human performance over the last couple of years, which is cool because human performance is like an evolution. And I think just as a society, we've kind of only scratched the surface of what we're really capable of. And you see a lot of that with just how strong people are now that are training properly, and how like far some of these ultra runners are running now. Like the science is definitely taking people to a whole new game, and we've incorporated a lot of that into the new preseason that is coming out May 1st. But one of the things that we learned a lot around that training program, to your question, is the recovery. And so we definitely, probably historically in our gym, we were overtraining some athletes because we were so focused on that mental toughness aspect that we were pushing people really hard, and definitely they weren't getting the recovery that they needed. And it was a little bit counterintuitive that if we backed certain things off at the right time, then the community came out way stronger than if we were pushing them hard all the time. So I think focusing on recovery is really, really smart and wise, especially for someone getting ready for a hunt. You don't want to have any of those overtraining symptoms, which usually lead to a potential injury or an injury on the mountain because you're not going in as strong as you can be. And a lot of that it'll be built into the program now. So from a programming perspective, someone on Mountain Tough is going to see that built in, so that we'll have like a strength day followed by a difficult day followed by a recovery day. So the sequence of programming days take care of a lot of that now. But then after that, it does come down to a lot of what we call the basics now. If hunters will focus on sleep and making sure they're getting adequate sleep every night, is probably the biggest needle mover that we've seen when it comes to rest, recovery, nutrition aspects. Is start with sleep. Definitely start with making sure you're getting that 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night. And as soon as you see someone kind of flip that switch and make that switch in their life, the rest of the human performance elements become a lot easier to address, because it is very difficult to wake up early and train if you're not getting enough sleep. It's really difficult to focus on your nutrition if you're not getting enough sleep, because athletes usually wind up hungry and tired if they're not getting enough sleep. So then they're not focused on the quality of their nutrition. So we always start with sleep. and look at that and see if people are doing okay there. And then we go to hydration for the basics. So we really ramp up the amount of water that they're drinking each day, because most people without any human performance education or background are only at about 20% of what they should be. So we start getting them closer to that gallon a day, which is really uncomfortable for them at first, because that's usually significantly more water than they've been drinking. But what happens is when you start being properly hydrated and sleeping properly, the first thing that happens is just mental clarity starts coming up to the level that it's supposed to be at. So when your mental clarity is elevated, then like making good training and nutrition decisions becomes a lot easier than if you're tired and underhydrated. So we always go sleep, hydration, and then the third thing that we always look at for the basics is protein. So we go sleep, hydration, protein. If we were going to start with anyone and look at where they're at, those are the three things we start. And those are really simple changes that anyone can make in their life. And if you just focus on those three and don't really worry about the wide variety of other recovery and supplement methodologies that are out there, if you focus on those three, it's a game changer for sure. And protein's pretty simple. We just try to get everyone up to a gram per body weight. And so some people are able to get about 70% of the way there with the food in their diet, with the protein in their diet. But then we usually have them add a shake or two, especially someone who's training really hard on a Mountain Tough program. They need that extra protein for recovery, because protein is the building blocks of muscle. And so without it, they're putting in all this hard work without all the benefit they could reap from the program.
So with regards to nutrition then, Dustin, what are some of the key tenets that obviously the protein aspect of it, what else, and does the app specifically address some of these issues, or how can someone adapt their eating and their lifestyle to give them the best chance of success?
Yeah, so the app has a program in it called Eat Mountain Tough, and that's where I would have everyone start, because nutrition is really individually different for each human. And so the best way to approach nutrition is to learn the fundamentals and then build a plan for you. Because everyone's so different, that seems to be the best approach. And so our Eat Mountain Tough nutrition program is all educational based. It's inside of the app, and it's 9 videos that just walk a hunter through the basics, and then the capstone event at the end of those 9 videos helps the hunter kind of build their own program. The reason that we went that direction is nutrition is different for males and females. Nutrition is different for a 20-year-old and a 60-year-old. And then nutrition is different based on people's metabolism, lifestyle. And so it's really nice to learn the basics of macros, body type, and then goals and objectives, and then have the hunter kind of build their own plan from there.
And do you guys see people bringing in nutritionists to support them, or what do you find for that?
Yeah, we do. That's always what we recommend is start with Eat Mountain Tough, which is going to kind of teach you the basic elements of building out your own lifestyle plan for nutrition. And then for more in-depth problem solving, more complicated goals or complicated diet restrictions, it's best to just reach out to a nutritionist and get some one-on-one advice.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, great advice there. I think I'm going to need some help in that area too. So let's talk a little bit about the lab and research. And I know your program is unique in the sense that you guys spend a lot of capital building these programs up, and ton of research. You've built the new facility there that you use for testing and a whole bunch of other things. So how important is that to what you guys do in terms of building your programs?
It's huge. Yeah. So our founding ethos was to always have a lab. And the reason that we needed to do that was it is pretty easy to write a really hard workout, but it's difficult to write a workout that is making a difference on the mountain. And so we needed a group of test athletes so that we could always see, is this making them stronger on the mountain? Are they able to stay on the mountain longer? Are they coming home less sore and with more energy to be with their family? And so the lab has been a critical component of Mountain Tough since day one, and it's probably even more so than ever before. We really amped up the game on the research and development side over the last couple of years. So just for example, like right now, we have a 3:00 test group. The 3:00 test group is 11 different athletes that are all backcountry hunters, but at a different level. So some are hunting for their first time this year. Some have been hunting really hard for 20 years. And then we have males in that group, we have females in that group, and we have 20-year-olds in that group, and we have 50-year-olds in that group. So that giving us the ability to see how the programming is affecting all those demographics is really important to building a program that we can then put online and allow the world to use, just because we need to know if it's doing what it's supposed to across all those different demographics without causing any injuries or overtraining. But then we're able to talk to that community and really see, how'd you feel in the mountains last weekend? Were you moving quicker or slower? Are we packing on too much muscle? Are you recovering? And so connecting with those athletes day in and day out has been a huge part of Mountain Tough's history. And those test athletes are really kind of driving our decision making on the final products before they go into the app.
I love hearing that. It's like I'm a process guy. And, I guess the tendency of this app world is to, build the app, build the programs and just let them be. But it's definitely not what Mountain Tough does. Constant work of refinement and exploration and how you can constantly improve is also encouraging as an app user that you're kind of getting the front lines of development and research, and not just from a scientific lab. It really sounds like you guys put in the work to apply it to us hunters that really want to perform well in the field. I love how you said also be able to come home and still be with family and not have to lay on the floor for 4 days and not be able to play with your kids. I think that just to me says that you understand and you have a good, clear mission of what you're trying to do and what you're trying to create and who's really benefiting from what you guys do. So I appreciate that.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been cool, and it has been a constant evolution. And a lot of times now we talk about, in a lot of ways, we are our biggest competitor. So like we are our biggest competitor because every year we have to try to make a program that's better than last year's program, which is really fun because last year's program we know changed the lives of a lot of different hunters, but we know there's a few ways that we can make it better, and just testing and experimenting all the time has helped us do that.
So the one thing I want to touch on before we wrap up, Dustin, is what's the best. What's going to give the people the best chance of success? So you've had your platform, and there's no people fail or they quit or they bow out all the time, right? So what's the best chance of success for moving forward with your app? What sort of things can they do? And then how does a person, when they hit that wall, when they're like, okay, I'm not doing the workout today, I'm just done, whatever priorities or exhaustion or whatever the case may be, what gets them, how do we get them to that next level and get them to not fail using the Mountain Tough Fitness app?
Yeah, there's three things related to that question that have changed the game. The first one that I would have all athletes do is start with the on-ramp program. So the on-ramp program is going to feel really, really simple and basic to some people, especially some people with training or like high school or college sport backgrounds. But it's nice to start on an on-ramp and talk and learn about the fundamentals. And the on-ramp solved that problem of someone starting a Mountain Tough program and being so sore that they want to quit in week one. And so our earlier versions of programming had athletes a little bit, we were pushing them too hard out of the gate. And so the on-ramp is definitely the way to go, regardless of your fitness level. Even if you're an elite athlete that's been training for years, starting with the on-ramp changes the game. It's really simple. It's 6 workouts every other day for 2 weeks, weekends off. They're only 20-minute workouts, but it gives the user a nice experience where they're not going to get banged up on their first workout ever. They're not going to be sore. They're going to learn kind of how to use the app. They're going to meet some of the team. So I highly recommend the first thing they want to do is the on-ramp. And then the second thing they would want to do is the 10-day mental toughness program. You could start both of those at the same time. So if an athlete was going to start today, they should start on-ramp day 1 and then start day 1 of the 10-day mental toughness course. So the mental toughness course you could do like in the morning or the evening. Most of those videos are 10 minutes long with about 10 minutes of homework. But that mental toughness program, it's not a workout. It's all mindset curriculum. It really changes the game on getting someone locked in on, all right, this is why I'm doing this. This is my purpose behind this. And then their chances of success are significantly higher. And the third thing that I've seen change the game for success over the last few years is finding someone to do the program with you. And that doesn't have to happen, but definitely it creates this bond that keeps someone so accountable and disciplined to the program. And those people don't have to live in the same town. They don't have to be in the same part of the country. But if you have a buddy and you're like, hey, we're starting Mountain Tough today, we're starting on-ramp today and mental toughness day 1 today. As soon as we're done with on-ramp, we're going into preseason prep together. That changes the game real quick because your buddy's going to call you. He's going to check on you. He's going to see how you're feeling. You're going to give each other crap about your times and have someone to suffer with. Those would be the 3 things that I would recommend for anyone to do.
Okay, cool. Excellent advice. How about somebody that missed a day? They just, whatever, something came up. And and then you get fall in that trap like, oh, I missed a day, and I'm like, well, I missed a day, I'll miss 2, and then all of a sudden it's a week, and then all of a sudden you're screwed. So what sort of strategy do you, because I found that, like, I don't sometimes, I'm good accountability, and then something comes up, just whatever. Maybe it's a family emergency. I don't know. I can't even think of what the scenario is. And then it's like, oh, I skipped a day, and then all of a sudden it turns into 2. So how do you kind of address that issue?
Yeah, the thing that we've seen help with that question is, and some of that's covered in the mental toughness curriculum, is one trick and hack that helps with that is this concept of training every day no matter what. And that mindset is pretty like highly adopted by like the elite special operations units, and it's not as complicated as it sounds. The philosophy, once you like apply it to your life, is pretty cool. And it's basically like, if I miss Mountain Tough today and I was supposed to do Mountain Tough today, I'm still going to train today no matter what. But you just make that really simple. So it's like, dang it, like I missed my gym time. I can't make it back to the gym. I at least need to like go for a 12-minute run by my house, or I need to do like 50 pull-ups in my basement before I can call it a day. And it's kind of like making sure you do at least doing something hard every day, doing some sort of training. But it can be 6 minutes, it can be 8 minutes. It doesn't have to be this whole hour-long workout. But adopting this mentality of like, I'm going to do some sort of training every day, whether that's a walk outside or a bike ride, or I'm just going to do 5 laps on these stairs real quick, just so I can at least say like, I got something done today. That changes the game, because you are right. You don't want to get too far behind in a program, because programming wise, you do need to start over for some of the specific strength periodizations to take effect. And if you get in that rut of starting over, then you start pushing this program right into the middle of your hunting season. So the training every day mentality, what it does is it starts to create a situation where people start missing a lot less workouts, because they're like, I'm going to find a way to make this happen no matter what.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great advice. And do something. Something's better than nothing. Okay, cool. We've dived into a lot of stuff, and I think what we'll do is, like, Jesse and I are going to embark on this program here, and probably bring you back on for more discussion kind of partway through if we could find the time, Dustin. Jesse, is there anything else that you want to jump into before we kind of wrap up?
No, I think that was, mental toughness is a big one that I'm glad we touched on. Nutrition and that recovery was also, like, a little bit on recovery. And that's why the app's so good, because it can be like, oh no, recovery is important. I need to just not do anything today because, I'm sore. It's a slippery slope that way. So again, like, having a program, because I don't trust myself to make those judgment calls. So having that program to tell me what to do, I've done that kind of training before where it's, you do 2 or 3 hard days in a row, but then you're still, doing active recovery. And essentially I love the do something hard every day. And you can gauge what that hardness is based on what your capacity is for that day. But no, I think from my perspective, I'm excited to get going. I think I'm going to start with that on-ramp and the mental toughness right away, and then get into the preseason prep. And I'm pretty jacked and excited, because, like I said before, I just need somebody to tell me what to do, and that's exactly what Mountain Tough's going to do. So I'm excited.
That's awesome.
Right on. So, Dustin, if our listeners are interested in your program, what's the best way for them to get signed up? How do they can they check out the program? What's involved with that?
Yeah, so it's super easy to sign up on Mountain Tough. Mountain Tough Plus app is available on all major app stores. And so you can go to mountaintough.com and click Start Free Trial. Start Free Trial will give all Mountain Toughers a 14-day free trial, but we do have an exclusive gift for your listeners, which is super awesome. But your listeners will get an additional 30 days for free. So they can do a full 30 days of poking around and testing the Mountain Tough app for free by using the code SHEEPBC. So it'll be all caps, all one word, SHEEPBC, and that'll add 30 days to their free trial. And then they can start a program. They can knock out that full 10-day mental toughness course. They could complete the full on-ramp program before they even make a decision. And then from there, the app gets downloaded either on your phone or smart TV, and it's native on the Apple App Store, and it's native on the Android App Store, but it's also fully native on all the smart TV apps now. So you can get it on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire Stick, and a lot of people are doing that these days for their garage and basement gyms.
Oh, that's perfect. Actually, I think I was looking at that and I was like, how do I get this on my TV? And I was just gonna stream it or whatever. But yeah, that's cool. I'll check that. I hadn't realized that it was on there, so that'll be a perfect addition. So cool, man. Well, that's super exciting. I'm really stoked about this, and Jesse and I will be talking about it as we podcast along on our journey and some of the train wrecks and some of the successes we have. And but really stoked about this program, Dustin. Appreciate all you do, and like I said, I've used your programming in the past. Really found it. I like how it's catered to what we do. It's really specific, and it just feels good because lots of times there's been over the years I've been on programs and I'm just using it and I'm like, how is this applicable to what I do? Like, it just doesn't even really make sense to me. And I feel like with this programming, it's so specific and it really feels like it's a right fit for a hunter.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate it, and I appreciate you guys, and Kyle and Jesse. Can't wait to hear about how the training goes, and really stoked for your guys' hunts this fall too.
Yeah, thanks, Dustin. Really excited. Appreciate it.
All right, awesome. We'll have a great day, and we'll touch. Hopefully, this we'll make this a regular thing. We'll get you back on, and you can keep us sorted out when we start if we get off track in any way, shape, or form. So,
yeah, I definitely want to hear about how you guys are doing on the program for sure.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.